based here in Tangier, Morocco. So today we're making grain-free pizza crust. So it's an awesome recipe and it's really simple. There's only about 4 necessary ingredients. It's almost like a flatbread, but it's a delicious vehicle to make pizza. So of course you can top it with anything. You can also break up this crust and make crackers with it. You can really do all sorts of things with this crust. So stay tuned, we're gonna get started in just a moment. So this grain-free pizza crust is made with almond flour. Seems maybe a bit strange, but surprisingly it's really delicious. Even people who eat grains, Lokmane included, loves this crust. So it's a fantastic way to enjoy pizza and perhaps a healthier version. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. Like I said, has about 4 ingredients. It's super basic if you'd like it to be, and you can amp it up with some spices again if you'd like. So we have almond flour here. We use olive oil, Parmesan cheese, and eggs. So I've mentioned before that I don't eat dairy, but actually I don't eat lactose. So certain hard cheeses, Parmesan in particular, have very little amounts of lactose. So occasionally I will use Parmesan, I also use goat cheese. I will put that on top of my pizza today. But goat's milk and therefore goat cheese don't have lactose either. So although I'm not a big fan of dairy in general because of inflammation reasons, that type of stuff, but occasionally I do use Parmesan cheese and goat cheese. Our recipe today is super simple. We're using 2 cups of almond flour, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 eggs, and a ½ cup of Parmesan cheese. So it's actually a very simple recipe to memorize anyway. Now today I want to spice it up a little bit, so I will put a little bit of salt, a little bit of fresh oregano. I also have dried oregano, and I really like to put red pepper or some type of pepper spice. This is actually called Sudania. Here in Morocco, it's dried harissa. So regardless, I like to put a little kick in there, so I'm using a little bit of Sudania today. So let's get mixing. Alrighty, so I need a ½ cup of Parmesan cheese. So I'll go ahead and grate that up. This recipe is also really nice because you're just mixing everything into a bowl and then putting it on parchment paper, rolling it out, and baking it. I love recipes that you can just throw everything into one bowl, right? And also today I have these eggs. They call them here in Morocco bildi. They're essentially, I call them happy eggs because these are free-range eggs. So the chickens that are eating grass and they're out in the pasture, that's this type of egg. Morocco also has more kind of industrial eggs, and those tend to be brown. But yeah, anyway, these are bildi. These are our frahana, our happy eggs, so we'll be using those today. Okay, so I'm actually picking out the stems from the oregano. I forgot. So here in Morocco, a lot of times certain spices you want to clean them or just take out the sticks because it's so pure, it has everything in it. So I'm currently picking out just the little stems. Of course, it's not going to hurt me to eat them, it's just a bit annoying. And also I wanted to mention the eggs. So because we call these happy eggs, because they're bildi, sometimes they are not good. Like perhaps the inside is a bit rotten or something. It's just because naturally, of course, some eggs are not going to be perfect. Because they're not chemically manufactured or something like that, we have to be careful with our eggs. So normally we crack them in a different bowl and then we put them in whatever we're using. And Lokmane was laughing at me right now because as we were filming me put everything in the bowl, I said, oh man, I hope these aren't rotten. I hope they're good eggs. Anyway, just a little fun fact from Morocco. So I'm mixing everything together, my oil, my eggs, my cheese, my almond flour, and just making sure that I mix this thoroughly. If you find that it's a little bit dry, it shouldn't be if you measure out 2 tablespoons of oil. But as you saw, I kind of just wing it sometimes measuring. So if it's a little bit too dry, I'll just add in a tiny bit more of the oil. And yeah, the spices, again, are kind of your call. I'll put the exact measurements in the description. Okay, great. So we have our lovely ball of dough. Again, it should really stick together. It shouldn't be crumbling apart, but the 2 tablespoons of olive oil should help with that. So I like to split mine into 2 balls, just because I like my crust to be thick enough so it's not falling apart, but not too thick, right? I don't want it to be, I don't know, I want this to be a flatbread. So I'm taking my ball and I'm making it into 2 balls. And then we'll go ahead and roll it out. I use parchment paper. In fact, I wouldn't make this recipe unless I had parchment paper because the almond flour tends to stick otherwise. So parchment paper will line your baking sheet, and then I'll put another piece of parchment paper right on top to roll it, right? So this way I'm protecting my dough, I'm protecting everything, nothing will crumble or fall apart. It'll be nice and perfect. Okay, so again, I have half of my dough here that I've rolled out. I like to use a lid. You can use anything, maybe a big mixing bowl, but this lid has the perfect sharp rim here, so I can cut out a nice circular pizza. Of course, you don't have to do this at all, but Lokmane did this for the first time, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I thought it was a great idea. So I'm pressing the lid into the dough, and then I'm just removing all the excess. So we're getting really fancy here and having a properly shaped pizza. Voila! So a beautiful, perfect circular pizza. It's not super thick. Maybe I can put a little dimension in the description for you. But yeah, this is our pizza. I've put my pizza crust on the parchment paper, which I then put on my baking sheet. And I'm gonna go ahead and bake this in the oven at about 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, I'll put Celsius down in the description. For about 15 minutes. Now take care, our oven here again doesn't have a temperature gauge, so I can't be exact, but pretty much after 8 to 10 minutes, check on it, make sure it's not burning. Okay, so we just want to par bake our crust, or half bake the crust. because we will put the toppings on and then put it back in the oven to cook a bit more. So again, you just want it to barely brown and then you want to pull it out. Okay, cool. So we see the cheese is bubbling and there's a light brown color coming onto the crust. So we want to go ahead and pull it out now. Again, we're par baking the crust. Here is our crust. Yay, it looks perfect. It's awesome when you make it into a little pizza shape. It just makes it feel even more pizza-like. Anyway, this is what you're looking for. Again, we're going to put all our toppings on top and throw it back in the oven for probably about 5 to 6 minutes. Turn the oven up now to almost a broil to make sure any cheese you put on top will melt and to also make sure that that crust gets a nice firm crispiness. Alrighty, so we've pulled it out of the oven now. Of course, you can put anything on your pizza, or you can just keep the crust that you've baked already and break it up and make it into kind of little like flatbreads. But this pizza here, I put a little bit of tomato paste on the bottom. I love also to put olive oil, or pesto is really good. I grilled a bunch of onions and garlic. I put some roasted tomatoes. We have, of course, some Moroccan olives, zitoun kal, so good. Some goat cheese and some sausage. And I'm gonna throw on some pickled onions from the last video, as well as some pickled peppers because they complement a pizza so well. I really hope that you enjoy this grain-free almond flour pizza crust, kind of a flatbread crust. Some feedback, let us know if you make it, how it went, what you put on your pizza. Leave us a comment below. And yeah, if you have any questions, of course, reach out. We're happy to answer any questions you have, but really enjoy this pizza crust because it's so simple, it's so easy, and you're going to love it. So yeah, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time for our next video.